Do you want to know the difference between a 4th grader and an 8th grader? A 4th grader will fall all over themselves to answer a question with not a care in the world. But an 8th grader will look around to see who's watching. What's good, YouTube? If you are new here, my name is Darin Nakakihara and I'm a middle school teacher from Southern California. Today, I've got an EdTech tip that is going to change your life for the better. By the way, this is the second time that I'm recording this video because the first time I didn't plug in the microphone. Teachers, I think we can all agree that a good discussion is the backbone of learning. Would you agree with me? Discussions are where all the light bulbs go off. When kids can hear what other kids are thinking, that really leads to deeper learning. And as teachers, it gives us great formative feedback that we can use to guide our instruction. There's really no substitute for a good discussion. With all of the uncertainty with how schools are going to be open next year, how do you replicate a good discussion, good classroom discussion online? That is something that we're all grappling with. How do we do it? Discussions really don't have the same impact on a Zoom call. So how do we amplify student voices? I think I have the answer for you. It's an app called Parlay Ideas, and it's what they call meaningful, measurable, and inclusive class discussions. And it is going to check off a lot of boxes for us, you guys. Are you ready for this? So one of the problems we have with online discussions is how do we facilitate student-driven discussions? How do we get them to talk in a meaningful way? How do we gather data from these discussions? You guys, when I think about discussions, I think about my really good teaching friend, Chris McNatt. Mr. McNatt loves to do these things that he calls micro discussions. He loves how they really cultivate critical thinking in his little 4th graders when they can hear what other kids are thinking in their head and guide them through these complicated and really next level discussions. He says he could really tell the difference in his kids. And I can attest, his kids, they think on a whole nother level. So how are you doing discussions right now? How are you doing the things that you used to do in your classroom online? This app can help. So when I began this video, I talked a little bit about the difference between a 4th grade response and an 8th grade response, right? You have this full spectrum of kids, some that really love to share what they're thinking, and then some that are so shy and introverted that they wouldn't answer in a million years. The one feature that really sticks out to me is the anonymous feature. This feature you can just activate and will provide secret identities to your kids, okay? So that they can respond and reply to peers anonymously. But on the back end for the teacher, you can see who everybody is.
The teacher can choose to make everyone anonymous in the discussion. Each student will be randomly assigned a character from history. So students will only be able to see the character that the student is as they share their ideas. The teacher always can reveal the names of who's who by clicking the eye icon. The students will never be able to see who is who in the discussion unless the teacher turns anonymity off.
Come on, teachers. That's exactly what many of you are looking for, right? It gives every student a voice and really breaks down that barrier to learning. You can hear from every kid now because it really takes away that filter on what they're thinking in their head versus what they want everybody to read. This is inclusive teaching. It gives everybody an equal voice, but you as the teacher have access to all this data. If there's one reason for a teacher to try this app, it's that anonymous feature. Just try it and see if it works with your kids. Okay, so the app has a really robust library of classroom discussion prompts that you can choose from on all these different topics.
The Parlay Universe is our growing library of ready-made discussion prompts developed by teachers and experts in the field. So I can click Early American History, and I can see all these discussion topics that are pre-made and ready to go.
But if you want to create your own, it has that option too. Each discussion is broken down into 5 steps. The first step is the discussion prompt. Sometimes it's just an article, sometimes it's a video for them to watch.
In this roundtable, we start out by looking at the learning goals, so not only the content of what the students are going to be learning, but also the skills that they're going to be practicing in this discussion. Then we provide some content and multimedia. So maybe it's an article or a picture, in this case, a YouTube video.
But then the next two parts, that's where the magic happens. The next part is where they're going to give their personal response.
When it's time to submit their responses, they're now going to answer these discussion questions. So we usually use Bloom's taxonomy to actually build up and scaffold the questioning.
And then just like in every other online class that we've ever taken in our entire lives, we provide peer feedback.
And then at the end of the prompt, we'll give them instructions for peer feedback when they're reading their peers' responses. And then I'm also going to set the peer guidance questions so I can flip on whichever sentence stems or questions I'd like the students to work on when they're responding to each other.
But just imagine if you are anonymous when you're giving this feedback to your peers. You can see how your students would be compelled to give a really truthful and honest answer because they are not worried about what their peers are going to think. That is magic, you guys. That is so genius. The fourth part is a live discussion. And this is set up like a Socratic seminar. During this discussion, your students are going to take notes and they're going to be actively listening. And then they're going to add to the discussion based on what they heard.
Once you've created a live roundtable in Parlay, fill in the guiding questions that you'd like your class to discuss. These questions will appear on the students' notepads.
So this part will also help your students move the discussion forward. It gives little hints like a sentence stem where your kids can just use these sentence stems to further the discussions. So what else would you be looking for in a discussion app like this? Data! Right? Teachers love data to inform their instruction. The data in this thing is so rich, you guys. It tells which students responded and who they responded to, how many times they've responded, what they said, how good their response was. It is amazing what you can get out of the data in this thing.
I can click the summary up here. And students can see this too. And this is going to show me whole class analytics of what this discussion looked like. So we could see average, how many students submitted a response, how many gave at least one comment, how many received at least one comment. We could see average comment length. So this could be really helpful when you're building up the stamina of students and making meaningful contributions to each other. We see a comment cloud here that's going to pull out the main themes and words from this discussion. I could actually star model submissions for students to go and review. So this could be really helpful if a student is away, or maybe I want to draw particular attention to conversation that's developing. I can see average comments per student, and then now I can see the comment core diagram. So each student in this is represented by a different color, and the size of that color is representative of how many comments they've made in the discussion.
Which leads to the fifth and last part, and that's teacher feedback. The app gives a really easy way to provide teacher feedback to each and every one of your students.
So when I go into each individual student's submission, I could read through their submission, and in the assessment box down here, I'll be able to give them a mark or a point based on each of these criteria. I could provide private feedback to Michelangelo, and this will go directly to him and nobody else will see it. And down here, as I scroll, I could really see the holistic view of how they've engaged in this discussion. So I could see how they compare to other students with regards to their participation with comments and comments applause. And I could see actually how they've responded to other students in this discussion as well.
You're going to love this thing. But wait, there's more. Parlay Ideas is also an integrated partner with Google for Education. So that means you can easily assign these things to your Google Classroom account, and you can pull the data into your Google Sheets and keep track of it there. And there's still more, because we know our districts might block this app. They are iKeep Safe certified, which means they are compliant with COPA Safe Harbor, FERPA, and if you're in California, they are compliant with the California Student Data Privacy Act. So your school district should have no objections to greenlighting this app. Parlay Ideas is the brainchild of this guy named Bobby McDonald, a Canadian, but don't hold that against him. So when he was in college, he was having this conversation with his friend about how none of the discussions that they were having in class really were tied to topics that were happening in the world today.
There's a missed opportunity with respect to relating what we were learning in school to the events and ideas that were shaping our world.
And just like all great ideas, he thought to himself, there's got to be a better way. So he took it upon himself to bring classroom discussions into the 21st century. And bam, Parlay Ideas was born. So I don't know who's using this, and if you are, please let me know down in the description how it's going for you and some of the things that you like, maybe some of the things that you'd like to see improved on. Let's give them some good feedback on how this thing is working. I do know that this is a great idea that has some potential to have some huge implications on learning in our classrooms. It's something that I think all teachers could use. When I first saw it, I thought that, oh, this is great for secondary teachers, middle school and high school. But now that I think about it, this could really work in any age classroom. I'm thinking about like math and how helpful it is for kids to hear what other kids are thinking. It's one of the principles that I use to teach math. I love student discourse. I love for kids to hear what other people are thinking. Why couldn't you, as a discussion prompt, post pictures of student work and then have discussions about what was going on in the mind of whoever did that problem? You could totally do that. And this app would give those kids an opportunity to really discuss what they're thinking and feeling. And again, without worrying about what their peers are going to think about them. So Bobby isn't a teacher, but he has surrounded himself with educators. And you can tell that this app used a lot of teacher feedback when it was being made. I wonder what it looked like when it first came out compared to what it looks like now. I bet it looks a lot different. Bottom line, this thing was made for us. So currently, they have 3 pricing structures. The first one is for a site license or district license. The second one is a bundle for 5 teachers. And then, of course, you guys, there's a free version that you can try right now. And I have verified that the free trial does not expire. And at the end of this month, July 2020, they're going to be offering a single user license as well. So free version, you guys, there's really no reason for you to not go try this thing out. Tell your friends. I really think that this thing could help a lot of teachers, especially with the uncertainty that we have right now. This is a way for you to replicate the classroom discussions that you are having online. Give it a try. ParlayIdeas.com. If you like this video, guys, and you want to see more, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you could do me a favor, hit like and the little notification bell so that you can get notified every time I upload a new video. My name is Darin Nakakihara, and that's your tech tip for the day. Have a good one. Bye-bye.